pretty much the postal unit and history of it. I don't think there's too many that don't. It's started about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And it's operated at a cost of about $12,000 to $14,000 a year to the township. We put it on the ballot this last November as a ballot initiative to fund it, and it went down. So we kind of got to have some discussion, and that's all this is tonight, is discussion about which route, what direction, and where we're going to go with it. There may be a few different options, but again, before we start exploring them, we got to find out where the board stands and what direction they wish to go with it. If it's flat out just to close it, there's no sense going out exploring a bunch of stuff. If it's to try at all costs to keep it open, we look at every option we can. If it's to stay status quo and leave it the way it is and continue to fund it, that solves that problem. So we're looking for options, any suggestion people have had. I've met and talked to different people, and now I'm looking for board opinions of which direction and where do we want to go with it. So I'm going to open this up for discussion as board. I can tell you one thing that has happened over the last 2 weeks is the girls at the post office put up a nice little sign down there. If you want to keep this post office, call Morgan. I did tell them to call all the board members, but I think they only put Morgan on there. So I have received an awful lot of calls over the last few days. At home, I had to pay my youngest son $1 a phone call to be nice when people called that they weren't telemarketers. So, but I have received an overwhelming lot of calls. But I also know that the calls are coming from the patrons, folks. So there's not the opportunity for the other side out there to call Morgan if you don't want it. So again, I think it's great. I think there's community support for this, but it also is a cost. And when we passed this thing 4 years ago, we didn't know that cost. And I don't know what the board members would have done then. I think I personally would have looked at it differently if you told me it was going to be a $12,000 to $14,000 cost from here on out to keep this thing. I would have looked at it differently then. I was under the assumption it would be a break even before too long, and then we would have it for nothing and a service this community could have. It's not working out that way, so.
Well, I think everybody hopes that it would be
Yep.
a break even at the very best. I think it is an asset to our community. And I know that there is some opposition against it. However, I really think that it's not so big a burden that we can't afford it. I think when the millage went down, it wasn't that people didn't want it, it was that they didn't want to pay more for it. And I would like to see us make every effort to keep it open.
We have supported other departments, the building, the transfer, we've supported that. It is a good asset. People go in there and they visit, you know, sometimes it's just a meeting place. Somebody comes to mail something, they haven't seen the other neighbor for ages, and here they come in. It's kind of neat, standing there and just kind of watch. But I'd hate to see it closed, but it's not my decision to make either.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm of the mind that there's two criteria we need to look at with this. A, the fiscal reality of it is costing us money, and service to our constituents. We have a moral obligation to provide those services that one would reasonably assume that you would have in a civilized area, which we are. And therefore, I am in favor of trying to keep it. I'm with you, though. I believe we should take a look at all of our options. We should look to see if we can minimize the cost. Again, I don't think $12,000, $14,000 is excessive to provide this service for these people. You know, there's a lot of people, and as I look around the room, I realize I'm the elder statesman of this group now. So I guess I represent some folks here that are more my age, and a lot of people like myself, we don't travel far. There's weeks where my wife and I stay right here in Croton. We shop local. One of the advantages is having a post office. You know, for the constituency that we have, that are like myself, I think a post office is vital for us to have. But again, I'm with you trying to find the best cost options to provide that continued service to our constituents.
Well, you know, I'm on the other side of the fence.
Let us hear it.
I don't know who, I haven't talked to hardly anybody that wants to keep that post office open. But I'm talking to the people that are still running to work, and they're driving by 100 places to mail their stuff. And, I don't know, we got here, along here my whole life without that post office there, because everybody runs to Grand Rapids or Newaygo or Fremont continuously. So I just don't understand the need, and if the board decided to open this post office because it was under the assumption that it was gonna break even, or I believe you guys thought it was gonna make money, and that isn't what happened. So I don't understand, if you wouldn't have voted for it 4 years ago, if you knew it was gonna lose $14,000 a year, I don't know why it would be okay to start spending $14,000 a year now. I mean, are we gonna do this for every single thing that comes up in the township, that it's only $14,000? Then we can do the same thing you're doing in Washington.
Well, there are some other options, and one of them was presented to the previous board, and that was that they would raise the rate on packages, lower the commission rate on stamps. But it required a 2-year commitment, and the board was unwilling to do that.
Talk that lady.
Okay,
Not
I
two,
thought it was a
right?
2-year, but.
Yep. And I did talk to that lady today, Chris. I called her today, and that is still an option. And what that option is, there's 2 rates in there. It's taking the bulk mailing rate to 20% and the stamp rate to 8%. But across the board, if you take what we've done over the last 2 years, that factors out to about a 12% overall, which brings us up by about $1,600 to $1,800 based on $80,000 a year, which is about what we're doing in that postal year, is about $80,000. That would bring us up by about $1,600. So I did talk to that option is still available to us today.
So we're only losing 11 or 12,000.
So we're only losing 11 or 12,000.
But at the same time, with the post office there, we have to do work on the building, that if that post office wasn't there, we wouldn't have to change the use of the building.
That would only apply for that septic system. That's the only thing that would save us there. But
Okay,
the library board wants
That's
to.
another $6,000-7,000.
Right. There is another option. I'm going to put it out there on the table because it's probably the most feasible one that I've looked at through all of this. Well, there's 2. Actually 2. I don't want to take one totally out of the table because I discussed with the library board, maybe them taking it. But I don't believe it can even happen. After talking to that lady today, what she said was because you guys are not Croton Township, theoretically it would have to be closed and then you would have to apply to reopen. So it's slightly different. Another option, if you look at this postal unit, the way they're designed, they are not designed to stand alone, okay? This is the only standalone one in Michigan. Every other one of these are tied to a business. They're made to go like to Michelle's store where they already have an employee standing there all day. And this is to generate more foot traffic for her store. And since the employee's there and she's paying it, it generates a revenue. Well, this township has its own business that's sitting there with its own employees that could do this right over at that campground. If we could tie this alongside that campground, it then doesn't become a burden on the campground. It generates a revenue for the campground because the employees are there.
Except the employees are not there in the wintertime.
Correct, but if we, and as being a government entity, it isn't our job necessarily to make a profit. If we made the money all summer while they were there, you could use that to pay through the winter and it becomes a wash. Then we could keep this postal unit and it would be no cost.
What are you going to do with the traffic?
What traffic?
The people coming and going?
I think we could open that front up. Bob and I had a long talk about it today, we'd like the opportunity to go take a look and maybe present that plan. But if this board is dead set against moving on, I don't wanna go do a bunch of work to bring this plan forward.
So I think
So,
what you're hearing is you've got one person that's dead set against it, and three
well, I
others
think
that
he's
are.
dead set against the
Against
cost.
the cost.
If we could do it for nothing, we might need him to come our direction.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, I don't know.
The rest of that statement was, it sounds like you've got three that would be interested in exploring, making something happen.
Yeah, I totally am in favor of exploring our options. Like my colleague at the end of the table, I do believe we should do this in a fiscally responsible manner. I want the post office. I believe it is a boon to our community, but I totally agree with what Lonnie's saying. I mean, it's got to be done in a fiscally responsible manner, and if we can satellite it on another organization and get it to break even, man, that's really good.
We can take a look at
I'd like to explore that.
Okay.
My biggest concern though is the traffic flow and the foot traffic, because there are times when that campground office is very busy.
Yeah.
Now, did she explain to you that they have parameters that have to be met as far as the way the room is set up,
Yeah.
et cetera?
Yeah,
So we'd have to redecorate the campground office to meet the post office
Yeah.
standards.
Well,
and if we meet with that, we can meet with that Lori to go over there and she'll kind of lay out. But again, this is all, what we'd have to do is come back and present it. I don't know what it would take to even get that building ready. And we may come back and say, that ain't feasible. That's not enough money to do it and it's not worth it. I don't know that. But again, I just don't want to go beat a dead horse if the decision here is to stop now. But it doesn't sound like that to me.
Morgan, do we
Yeah.
have patronage data from the postal unit? Have some idea that the number of patrons they have on a daily, weekly business? That would really help us in our decision.
Jean was keeping track of that.
Okay, I don't know, you'll have to help me dig through piles to find it.
No, you'd have to ask Sue Report, I'm sure she
Okay.
has that information somewhere.
Okay, we can also get you dollar amount very easily of what it does year in generation.
Sure.
You know, when you look at $80,000, which is roughly where it's doing in business, at 44 cents a stamp, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Well, and it is, but most of our traffic is actually packages.
Okay.
We ship a lot of packages out of
especially
it.
right now, there was tons of them in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cyclical. It's actually busier between like the 1st of October and the end of January than it is most of the year.
Yeah,
But
Christmas
it's,
time like everybody
you know,
else.
but I'm amazed how early the Christmas season starts.
Yeah. Now, I did have that lady mail out a packet today for the rate increase. We have stuff to fill out there to bring that up to the 12%. So, we have time at the next meeting in January, which would still give us our 120-day notification as if this isn't something the board chooses to do. So we still have time in January if we can make a presentation of what it would take to put it over there. And it's feasible, we can look at that, or we can decide then on the 120-day notification to close it, so.
Bob, what is that room that the EMS were in? They were in the front.
That's actually 2 rooms.
Okay.
You gave me the desk, I use one for an office. And the little room, I think it's only 12 by 12. It's, or whatever the width of the trailer is.
I don't think you're gonna wanna put it in a different room,
Okay.
because then you're splitting the attention of the person that's waiting on people from one part to the other. Somebody walks into one side, there's nobody there, they're gonna leave. And we want the campers to register, and we want people to buy postage. Should all be in the same room, would be my thought.
I think that's part of the, what we'll have to look into is what's feasible and what's not. Again, I don't know, I just want to know what direction we were looking at going here as a board.
It's worth it to learn.
Okay. And we'll put some effort into that. But if you want to know how many people want it, Ronnie, I'd be glad to change the number over there at the post office, your number instead of mine.
Then you can get
Old school.
You and I can talk later.
All right. So I'm understanding that if we can present some sort of plan back, we're willing to look at it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's all I was looking for. Do you have anything else? Okay.
He didn't like my idea.
What was yours?
No,
No.
he didn't like my idea. I just-
Well, what was your idea? Maybe I would like your idea.
No, you didn't.
Oh.
No, it's about using the EMS room. I didn't know how it was laid out.
Oh,
in the
okay.
front, so
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was part of the other room, or could be part of the other room, but.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's,
You know,
actually, that's
I
what we
didn't-
talked about, was that
yeah.
EMS room, so.
Yeah, but I
And
didn't
be
know
able
how
to
it was
put it
laid
up
out
enough.
until we look at it.
You'd have to at least knock out the wall so you could
Mhm.
see it from one side to the other.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just gotta look at it.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't even walked through the
Yeah.
other part of that building, I've only been in the office.
What kind of
I don't
shape?
think that desk thing that the fire, or the post office uses will fit in here unless we really do some changes.
What about,
Well, I,
What kind of shape is that trailer in?
bad, what about
It's
that,
getting old.
that living room area?
What
The
about,
living room area? What if you open that up to that postage?
okay, where does our workers go for a break?
Kitchen area. You'd have to put up a wall.
Yeah, this is all stuff we can look at.
Yeah,
I'm just
We
throwing the
can- yeah,
idea,
yeah.
I'm just throwing the ideas out there, so when you do consider it, give some thought to that. Because I would like to see that carpet ripped out of that living room area anyhow. You know, put some hard surface in there, that's disgusting. But anyway, that's another story for another day.
That's another day.
I assume then that you're gonna work with Bob on that, you got this one?
And we'll have a few questions run by Don probably here too.
Cool,
so,
okay,
yeah.
got it.
Yes. Okay, the second item on the agenda is discussion on attorney policy. And a lot of you might be able to help me. I believe even back when Charlie Vesper was here, they put some sort of attorney policy in place back then. I know our board that just walked out of here the past 4 years made an attempt to do it. We have really nothing that I can find that is a definitive policy on who can, who can't call the attorney. In your bills, you'll notice, I think we just approved a bill tonight for $1,800 for accumulation of attorney fees that nobody really knew were coming. They just kind of all of a sudden keep hitting and rolling, and everybody's calling them when they got a question, and next thing you know, there's an $1,800 bill floating out there. So, again, this comes down to what direction this board wants to head, but we're kind of going crazy a little bit here. And I don't know what kind of dollar amount, are we gonna stop this at a certain dollar? Are we just gonna let this thing go? What are we gonna do?
I think that it's not something that people call the attorney every day.
Okay,
I think that the people that are doing the actual day-to-day business need to be able to call for information if they need that information from a professional.
I don't think they need to do that without the supervisor's approval, though.
That's right.
Well, if the supervisor's not available and you need the information now, what do you do?
we have
That's-
an
that's-
MTA.
There's nothing that can be so important that can't wait a day.
That's business by exception, not business by the norm. I echo what Lonnie is saying, and that is, there's got to be control over going. I totally agree that the people that work full-time should have the ability to be the main points of contact for the attorney. The supervisor should be the focal point where the supervisor has some knowledge that those people are doing. Nobody's trying to restrict you doing your job, either one of you. All we're saying is to make maximum utilization of our dollars, we have to have somebody doing it. Because what if he also wants to get a hold of the attorney on the very same day that you want to, and now we make 2 calls into the attorney, and we could bill twice rather than combining them and making it 1. If Lonnie or I feel it necessary to go to the attorney, rather than going online and getting the advice of the MTA, oh, by the way, they're pretty good, well, then we should, out of courtesy, go to the supervisor and say, hey, Mort, we have this thing, we'd like to talk to you, the attorney. And at that point in time, we decide whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But there has to be some person that's the point person to control this. Otherwise, you have the possibility where 5 people could contact that attorney on 5 separate occasions during a period of time to get 5 bills. That's not cost effective.
5 or 10.
It might not be cost effective, but to what extent do you feel that there's a department that's abusing it?
No, I didn't say that. Don't do
Okay.
that. All I'm saying is, all of a sudden, I was presented with a bill that I had no clue was coming. Okay? So we send out the bills, and all
Right.
these guys see it, I ask my line, what is this? Well, I can't explain it, because I don't know. And you put you in as a supervisor in this township, I'm allowed to spend up to $500, correct? Don, no offense to Don, that's not where I'm heading with this, could rack up a $2,000 bill tomorrow, no questions asked. Okay, we tie our hands and we limit these monies, and then all of a sudden, this one can just be allowed to go.
It's a blank check.
It's a blank check. Now, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want you to put that in my hands. Okay, I don't want a blank check. And I didn't ask for this to be a supervisor approval thing. That's not what I'm looking for here. I mean, if we're gonna go out and spend this kind of money with attorneys, I think this board needs to know.
The type of
You know,
money,
but I understand also that there comes a time when there's an emergency and we need to get a hold of them. I understand that. And I don't want to tie everybody's hands here, that you
Well, I
can't
guess
do
that's
the
my
day-to-day
concern.
business.
Okay, let's say an issue happens tomorrow, we gotta wait until January to have the board approve?
Not necessarily.
See what I'm saying though?
Yes.
no.
It can slow down doing
Yes,
business,
it
and
can.
sometimes business needs to happen.
What is wrong with the supervisor being that point person that is responsible for keeping a phone log of all those calls that go into the attorney? So we have some idea of how much money we are spending. Why do we want to sit in the blind and watch money being spent and then go back after the fact and go, did you contact the attorney? Who the heck did this bill? Did you contact the attorney?
It should be on the bill itself.
It is. And I look back at that bill, Chris, that's what I was looking at attorney bills today, it's scary. It really is. You think you just pick up the phone, call for a question, there's $60. There's $80. There's $100. And just, I don't think half of them are necessary. Okay, that's my own opinion. I don't think half of them are necessary. So, I would like to limit it. And I don't care if we limit it by department with a budget and say, your department can spend up to $1,000 a year for attorneys, there you go. Stay within your budget, or this, or if you do that with a supervisor or 2 board members. Contact 2 board members before you do it. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't think the direction we're going right now is the right direction.
Well,
So that's what I'm looking for, is the input here, and then let's make a policy.
Yeah, in the course of doing business, if Morgan is not there, and any of you that work here full-time need to get a hold of the attorney, you do it. Okay, nobody's trying to say that we should limit this.
But that you're talking these 2 here. You're not talking every single person that's sitting on a board.
No, I'm not. I'm
And that's
talking.
what's happening.
Yeah, well, and that can't happen. That's why I say, you've got, to get it under control, you have to have a person that does in fact report the data and say, okay, you're calling the attorney and run a phone log on it. That way you've got some oversight. You, as the supervisor, have a responsibility that's called supervisory oversight.
Yeah.
And you cannot just sit back and let everybody that wants to rack up a bill with an attorney make a phone call.
And I don't, again, Ralph, I agree with that. And I think, Lonnie, when it comes to what we're saying here too, is I think you need to look at a budget. We need to make it for the planning commission. And Jim Squires is the only one there that can do it. He's the chair of that.
Yeah.
You can't allow it for every member.
No.
Steve Gerke is the chair of the ZBA. He needs to do it.
I was under the impression that they did have money in their budgets.
They do, but I don't think we limit who on their boards can do it. I think
That's
any board
interesting,
member,
because I thought
anybody
it
in
was
there.
strictly the chairs that were doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't-
That makes sense to have a person on
That's
that
it.
board authorized to do it. That
That's
makes
it.
perfect sense.
So-
But it
Well, and it
still
should
don't
be
make
the
sense to
chair.
me that that person's doing it without letting the supervisor or
I agree.
somebody on the
No.
board.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. That person should have the authority, but that person out of courtesy should go, hey, Morgan, I gotta make this call, we've got this issue that we need to research.
And I think probably you would find that they did, I think the previous supervisor probably was aware when the chair of the CPA called or the chair of the planning commission called.
Okay.
It's just, there's a transition here, and
Yeah.
you were unaware of what was going on. But
I
very
was-
often I saw those people having conversations with her, and
Yeah.
I would be surprised if they went the step of calling the attorney without telling her that.
But I was unaware of that,
I can tell you
and I
this,
don't want them to be unaware
I'm not
either.
gonna sit here and vote to approve an attorney bill if you can't tell me where the charges come from,
Exactly.
and who made them, who called, and what was about.
Exactly. And
That's what's happening.
sitting in that seat prior to this one, I was unaware of these bills coming. I didn't know it, so yeah, maybe just the supervisor know, but again, I'm not looking for that. I'm saying everybody in this board needs to know fully where this is at and where it's going, and if we're spending money, then they're gonna get, if Don come to me tomorrow and said, hey, we got a case coming, I'm giving them a heads up. It's going their direction, they're gonna know.
And I wanna know if Don or the ZBA or whoever's spending $10,000, $20,000,
Yep.
$30,000 a year on the attorney.
You wanna know.
That's gonna stop.
I know.
It's the same as you, Chris, you like, you sit signing the check, and I'm signing the check. We both know what we're signing before we sign it. Well, they should know what
They
they're
should know
approving.
also.
Oh, sure, I'm not,
You know, so
I mean,
I think
if-
we should
If
all-
we're using the two-person rule for doing checks, what's wrong with the two-person rule for doing this? They're
That's-
spending funds.
That was exactly what we
That's
said
fine.
today,
that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
so.
I think you'll find in the building department, we've always gone to the supervisor and asked him for a remainder cost.
Okay, and again, Don, I'm
I
not
don't
saying
think
that's
it's-
not
I
the
don't think
case.
it's you that's on the bill that we're at. I think he
I
just
know
used that
but
as
I
an
mean,
example.
This is bad policy we've used.
Yeah.
If I